1, 2, 3, 4.
In this podcast, you will hear Knights of Vader. Knights of Vader include, but is not limited to, talk of Star Wars, not ray guns. We can't truly prepare you for the jump that follows this song, but hey, we gave it a try. So here's the Knights of Vader. Crystal Fox report they are divided. Prequel, sequel, canon, love they divided. I know that we are just musicians hired, and their time is up. So here's the Knights of Vader.
Impressive. Most impressive.
Thank you to I have an inferiority complex for providing our theme song. It is December 29th, the day of Fett. Yes, Book of Boba Fett came out today. You got me, Lord Zenger.
And you got me, Dame Heel Russ.
Ooh.
And we got Chris Porteous and Joe Yazzo.
Well, hello, Chris and Joe and Zenger.
Yes,
the book release has happened, man. We got into chapter 1.
I have read it because I watched it with subtitles, which means I technically read the episode.
Absolutely.
All read today, yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm mildly disappointed that there wasn't a physical book. As, books are Star Wars canon since The Last Jedi, like physical paper books. So, like, I kind of expected to see, like, an intro, like Game of Thrones, where, like, a CGI book, like, folds open, and we go to... Exactly.
Okay, I need to stop.
Well, the copyright flag just happened because it can auto-detect that sort of notation. But let's just go around and get a little quick spoiler-free reaction from everybody. So let's start off with Zenger. Give me like a 1 out of 10 on this first episode, and some spoiler-free thoughts.
Okay, so first I'm gonna do a quick review of this episode before we've even recorded it for everyone. Zack's not here, so Zack's obviously upset about this episode and is taking it deeply to heart to not be here today. Russ is going to talk about some obscure stuff that nobody has any clue about that we're going to see in this episode. Joe's going to agree with him. Chris is going to go on about some toy that none of us can own in America. And I'm going to sit here and aimlessly play Cookie Clicker or Halo in the background while providing witty commentary on the whole situation.
I thought this was supposed to be spoiler-free. You just spoiled the entire episode.
I didn't spoil our episode. Our episode spoiled. Now, as for the Book of Boba Fett,
Down with the Empire!
Good night. See you guys next week. Now, as for the episode of Book of Boba Fett, did I watch this at 3 a.m? You're goddamn right I did.
Beautiful.
Did I watch it again later and realize I missed a ton of stuff? You're goddamn right I did. Did I enjoy it? Yes. 9 out of 10. I give it a light read of a 9-chapter book. So 9 out of 10. Is it perfect? No. Is it what I expected? No, because I expect nothing from this. So anything will impress me. I'll get into more details in the spoiler. As for me, thumbs up. Can't wait till next week.
So let me quickly point out Zenger's remarkable consistency, which on our last episode where we talked about this, he said he was going into it with no expectations, and he managed to maintain that line of thought over a couple weeks, which is really remarkable. And that sort of consistency should be applauded. Russ,
thank you.
Russ, what do you think about this first episode? Just give me a 1 out of how many out of 10 Boba Fett helmets do you give it, and give me some spoiler-free thoughts.
I'll give it 7 disintegrations or Boba Fett heads, maybe 7 or 8. Not saying I didn't like it at all. I did. I just really felt like, as far as not going in with expectations, that I felt like this was everything we had seen from Mando and from the trailers themselves. Like everything was kind of expected that happened in it. We did get to see, this is the spoiler free version of this. Was it better than Spider-Man, the new one? Yes. Am I excited for more? Sure. And yes, that is my commentary on the open episode. It was good. It was good. But I felt like I kind of, besides the ending, it was all kind of laid out for us already.
Playing it pretty safe there. Yeah. So maybe we'll try and avoid talking about Spider-Man this episode. Joe, what are your initial spoiler-free thoughts? Give me a rating out of 10 and tell me your initial reaction.
I'd probably give it an 8. Initial reaction was, would I sit down and watch it again? Yes. Is it going to be Bad Batch worthy? no, I'm probably going to want to sit down and watch it instead of having to trudge through it each week. But I did hear it's only 7 parts. So
chapters.
It's not going to be, the 12 of the Bad Batch.
Well, this is the first half of the book, maybe the next season, they peel it over and it was a whole nother half.
But I did find it was quite Arrow-esque of the way that they're doing it, because it's, it does have that feel of Arrow.
Now, is that because Arrow jumps around like chronologically in sort of dream sequences, or what are you talking about when you reference that?
Like flashback.
Okay.
It's like, you see him go through something, and then next you see him flashback through it.
All right,
but I'll save the rest for the non-spoiler.
Well, so yeah, okay, thanks, man. So myself, I'd probably say 6 decapitated Jango Fett helmets out of 10.
The lowest.
Yeah.
The lowest from us.
Yeah, but you know what? My standard for entertainment, like, just the whole modern A-list type entertainment is like, I'm expecting so very little. Like, I saw Spider-Man just like the rest of you guys, and I have more nerd complaints about Spider-Man than I do about the Book of Boba Fett episode 1.
Agree.
Yeah.
So I've been saying that.
So it was the first MCU movie I've seen in a long time.
I think that's the case for a lot of people, and I don't know what they're expecting. I know they made $1 billion. We're already talking about Spider-Man, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe I think I am sliding down that hole with you guys, or I'm starting to view it from a different lens, especially with the new nostalgia of very recent things that you wouldn't think are nostalgic, but somehow, yes, Doc Ock is very nostalgic.
Yep, and Tobey Maguire be looking a little bit older. It's kind of weird, but but as far as the Book of Boba Fett, like, there was a lot, like, don't let 6 out of 10 fool you. There's a lot of stuff I liked about it. I think that, like, I do factor in the fact that I'm just becoming more jaded and grumpy as an audience member, and like, that's definitely a real thing that's happening. I feel like the core storyline is something that we haven't really had a good look at yet, because they're not going to do 7 episodes simply on the fact that he's sort of reclaiming gang territory or something like that. There's going to be a more important story that comes into place here. I really believe that, and I just can't wait.
It's PTSD.
Exactly. I can't wait to see what this 7 episodes is actually going to be about, which is, one more episode than I was expecting. So I think there'll be something interesting there. So now we're going to get into, like, we're going to start actually talking about it. So if you haven't seen it yet, you're probably not our audience.
You've probably seen it.
Yeah, I don't want to alienate anyway. You, but you're, pause it, watch it. It's 38 minutes. Check it out.
I'm going to give them some time real quick and fill the void, so that if you're stumbling to get to your phone, or wherever you're listening to this on turn off, I'm going to give you that moment now by filling this space with, there are no in-atmosphere Star Destroyers in this. So I was very upset by that. Would have been a 10 out of 10, but there are no in-atmosphere Star Destroyers. So I was very upset by that. Also,
and a letdown.
Spider-Man.
Hold on. Also a letdown. This entire episode was in atmosphere. This is Star Wars. I didn't see any stars. I saw a sun at one point.
And another sun.
Yes, there's 2 of them, distinct ones. In the very beginning, says we're spoiling it. Says we finally see the moment the fans have dreamed of for years and comics have been written. We saw Boba Fett in the Sarlacc with the one thing we all expected to see in the Sarlacc with him, of course, an Imperial Stormtrooper.
Heck yeah.
Oh,
They
man.
toss those things in there.
So that kind of bothered you too, right? Because why? We sort of
how'd that guy get there?
Well, I started rationalizing it, and I'm like, well, maybe like 4 years before this, we do see a lot of dewbacks roaming the Dune Sea. Maybe a dewback just slipped and fell in there, and that's why there's a stormtrooper in there.
Good armor, though. I mean, if he's been in there that long.
Right.
He's been in there longer than Fett, because he's like all aliens, like stuck in the wall
and that's
at that point.
And that's the problem, right? Because we see, like, 5 or 6 skiff guards fall in there right before Boba Fett does. And
or to see Weequay in there or something.
Yeah, and they would be alive and, like, screaming and freaking out. and it would have been like probably too traumatic for the show. But I think the biggest, so we very close to the opening of this episode. I didn't think they were going to start out with him in the Sarlacc pit. Like, that surprised me.
Oh, I did.
I really thought that we'd get there later.
Oh, sorry, no expectations.
I thought it
Justin.
would. Yeah, I thought it would open with that, Zenger. I agree with you. I knew that they would have to get that over with quick, and I didn't realize that the device would be. So the device we're using in this, instead of armor, instead of making armor to trigger cutscenes, now you have to go in a bacta tank to trigger your cutscenes. And I'll notice this happened to him a couple times. Boba Fett gets pretty messed up. He's like, "Oh, get me in the bacta, mate." And it's like, all right, like, he's not as badass, I guess, as we thought. He's got a little almost Vaderish weakness.
He was across town, and he was like, "Listen, guys, you need to get me back to my bathtub, or else this is not going to end well." So that was funny. Like, you're hitting on a good point. It's like, how much credit do they give the audience to understand how close this is to The Mandalorian season 1, where, like, and I know they haven't finished out these flashbacks yet. It's very similar to, like you were saying, to how we see those flashbacks of how Din was saved by the Death Watch from the super battle droids. Did it bother you guys that it was so on the nose structurally to the first season of Mandalorian, or did you like those flashbacks?
I mean, I think they had to do the flashbacks. This is the book. I mean, books have different. We knew they were going to show us older stuff. They had to show the Sarlacc thing, but I felt like that's all they had to show. They showed I like the Tusken stuff, and I like how they kind of made that Tusken warlord look a little different, and have Tusken Kid who was a little jerk, and those were cool elements. But like, yeah, there was too much Tusken. Like, we get it. He was buddies with the Tuskens. Like, they saved him. That's kind of could have just gone. I don't know.
Joe, what about you? What was your initial thoughts on the flashback stuff?
I think they needed to have it. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of people that were sitting there. I was going into it expecting that they would show them getting out of the Sarlacc. The only thing is that you didn't have that mouth. That's the one thing I was disappointed about.
Mm.
There was no beak? You wanted to see a beak?
I wanted to see the beak.
Oh my God.
They put it in there for a reason.
I think he killed it from the inside. I don't think that beak's doing anything anymore. I think he burned that thing from the inside. So what exactly happened in that scene? Because I had to go back and watch a little bit, because unlike Zenger, I watched it 3 a.m. I think I watched it on my phone at work twice today. But I went back and watched the stuff I didn't see. But so what, he took some kind of tube out of the stormtrooper and powered up his flamethrower? Okay. It's like life support. So it was like spraying hairspray into it almost.
He basically pulled the life support out of the stormtrooper helmet so he could breathe, because he was in the thing's stomach, and then basically tore a hole in the side of it and just started ripping the flamethrower. And from there, I'm assuming dug his way out.
Okay, so thanks for bringing that up. So this is my bit. Like, I have a science-related complaint about this part of the episode.
Wait, hold on. Allow me to establish a few things first. You have a science-related complaint in a movie where people have robot limbs. Hold on, wait. Allow me to elaborate on that.
Too.
You have a science complaint in a show where they use droids that can navigate through space itself to serve drinks.
Listen, that's way.
Hold on, wait, son, 1 second. You have a science complaint in a movie where lasers can be blocked with swords of light.
They're not lasers.
Proceed.
They're not lasers. They move way too slowly.
Bolts.
They move way too
Laser
slowly.
bolts.
Like, you can watch, like, a film is 24 frames per second. It takes at least 5 frames for one of those, like, laser bolts to move like 30 feet. Like, they're not lasers, whatever they are. But anyways,
Jesus Christ, we have Zack 2.0 on right now.
whatever they are, they're not lasers. But what I'm saying is, okay, so just think about this for a second, all right?
Thinking.
If you follow, it's a sort of a trope in cinema to show a guy buried in sand up to his neck and he can't get out of the sand. Have you guys, because it's safe to say all 3 of you have seen that before?
Sure.
Yeah, right? Like, you can't.
One time in real life.
Exactly. There's funny jokes. They put a bucket over his head or something. He can't move. He can't get his arms free even. Right? So Boba Fett falls in the Sarlacc, which is an opening. It's a doorway. And he bursts out through solid sand about 7 feet away from that opening. You can't move through solid sand. It just bothered me that, like, there's a door right there and the guy goes through solid sand.
I'm going to debate your debate with the debate. Sandworms, Dune, proceed.
It could be some weird part of the thing. I don't know, but it did seem weird that it just didn't have him come out of the mouth. Did they just not want to build that piece? Was that like CGI, the actual Sarlacc back there? Or you think that was an actual set?
Also, the Force. Just gonna say the Force.
Yeah, I kind of starting to believe that he has the Force.
It is with him, yeah.
But for any of you guys who got buried in sand up to your neck in college, you understand that he wouldn't have been coming through that sand. So I just there's a perfectly good opening the way he came in that was right there, and it kind of bothered me that he power punched through some sand.
I'm going with Russ's argument of they didn't want to build that set, and that's the way they wanted to do that, because it's a lot simpler to just put that set on that whatever background thing they can put everything on and just be like, yeah, have him dig his way out of the sand.
Yeah, it's like Jason.
It's soft sand.
It's like something Jason would do, or like a zombie from like Return of the Living Dead, just punch their way through the ground. Yeah.
Well, that's something that happens. It's very much like Freddy Krueger's hand in Jason Goes to Hell, where he bursts through the sand at the end and grabs Jason's mask.
Oh yeah, it is. If he would have grabbed like I don't know, his own helmet, that wouldn't make any sense. It's like, yeah, it's yours, take it. But he had.
Yeah. Now I was talking to your Rob Russ, and he referred to that as a 80s trope, but I can't think of any other example of it than Jason Goes to Hell. But that, I think that says more about my cinematic library.
Evil Dead.
Evil Dead. Evil Dead. I feel has on the cover. It's even on the cover, I believe, of the original Evil Dead. Yeah.
Which, side note, Evil Dead 2 best movie poster. Fight me in the comments. Yeah, Skull with the Eyes.
Great.
Skull with the Eyes. Best one ever. I said fight me in the comments on that one.
To Zinger's defense, back in the day, it would take a little bit of effort to take a picture of a skull prop and a picture of a human face at the precise exact same angle so that you could sort of cut out those eyeballs and put them into the mask and the skull. So, there was a lot of work involved there in artistry that I think people sort of lose sight of these days. But carrying on from that, so did any of you guys think that because of some of Chimera Morrison's comments about seeing sort of every bit of missing time of Boba Fett's life, did you think maybe we'd get a glimpse of the sort of, and maybe it's yet to come, but do you think we'll get a look at the time period between when he sort of left Cloud City with the frozen Han Solo until we see him again in Return of the Jedi? Because some of my favorite stuff from those Shadows of the Empire comics is when he's sort of just hanging out on Slave One, sort of reflecting on his accomplishment and talking to the frozen block of Han Solo inside there that is unable to respond.
I think it might involve even more. I don't know. Is there like talk of him ever working? I feel like they're going to bring in some of the other bounty hunters that we know and love. I don't know, 4LOM or Zuckus. Somebody is going to come in and that might have something to do with it. Maybe they'll show him besting him at some point in that same kind of era. Because doesn't he like waste IG-88 on the way to get Han Solo or something like that?
In an incredibly non-canon fashion. Yes, he does.
Wonderful.
All depends on how Book of Boba Fett does, is what they do. That's going to be a space filler. They'll put hair back on Tamora Morrison and make him a young Boba Fett.
Great point. So we see Boba Fett like within 24 hours of him falling into the Sarlacc pit in Return of the Jedi, and he's bald. Did y'all think Boba Fett was bald that whole time?
Wait. Well, yeah, he was, because that's right, and you get to see him in just a flight suit. That seems like that seems for an action figure right there. Like, flight suit Boba Fett, dirty Boba Fett.
Well, Hot Toys already put out a 2-pack where it's like you get the Tusken Raider version of Boba Fett and the version when he first gets his armor back in a 2-pack. So I don't think we're gonna get plain flight suit Boba Fett. But so do you think his hair melted off inside the Sarlacc pit, inside his helmet, or do you think he was just always bald? That's the question that's gonna bother a generation.
The other thing too is like he was quite svelte when he went in, and he gained like 60 pounds to 70 pounds. When he got out, he got a dad bod
Well, he looked pretty accurate when he punched his way out of the sand, though. We'll say they made him look pretty accurate, and I think Tamora Morrison did slim down since Mandalorian because he looks a lot. He looks a lot better. And how much further along from the flashback is the current timeline of this Mandalorian? It's like 9 years, right? 5.
Yeah.
So 5 years. Yeah. So 5 years he was out there after the Jawas took his stuff, just waiting around.
Could he have been in the Sarlacc for longer?
He better have been,
I'm throwing that out there. Maybe he was in the Sarlacc for like a month or two.
Yeah,
not a significant fraction of 5 years, or he'd be clearly dead.
Well, I'm just throwing that out there as a quick little. So if it comes up later, I can be like, oh, someone can be like, oh, Zenger said that he knows the way, and I'll be like, this is the way, and everyone will clap because I made a Star Wars reference.
I guess it depends. How long do we think it takes for Jawas to capitalize on a destroyed sail barge?
How fast
hours.
does light travel?
Let's say the second the flames and the plume was in the air, somebody spotted that and they were like mirror signaling Jawas, miles away. Like there's something happened here.
That's the one thing that got me too was, you see Jabba's sail barge sitting there with smoke all around it, but no smoke coming from the Sarlacc that he just incinerated.
Could be heartburn. If I eat some pizza, you don't see smoke coming out of my mouth, but trust me, something's burning on the inside.
There's a strange venting system to this whole Sarlacc. Tatooine has this weird stuff going on. And evidently you could just dig in Tatooine and find some kind of rock that has water in it, as we find later. We learned so much great stuff about Tatooine. Moisture farming. All you can do is dig. It's right there.
Russ,
like it's just
you're clearly missing there's a tradition with a lot of
dig for water. Dig for water.
There's a tradition with a lot of primitive cultures where they pre-fill and bury water in order to find it later. Those were not sort of water gourds. They were pre-planted there by the Tusken Raiders.
No. Those are water seeds that grow in Tatooine deep in the ground, and that is why.
Once again, Russ, I'd like to point out
and I'm an idiot. Yes, go ahead.
No. I want to say you were saying how these things have weird venting systems. Once again, something I have in common with this planet of Tatooine, because I also, when I have heartburn, have weird venting systems.
Yeah, weird venting system. He has 2 sons.
Okay.
That's exactly it.
Exactly.
Okay, so good transition point. So, we do see...
It is?
It absolutely is. We do see this sort of this is a new faction of Tusken Raiders that saved Boba Fett. They wear a lot of black, like they're edgelords compared to the regular Tusken Raiders. They let women in their tribe have roles of leadership, which is a new thing for the Tusken Raiders, because Disney Star Wars is still afraid to show Lucas's female Tusken Raiders because they didn't show them in Mando season 2.
They didn't have that weird Jawa tank armor that they looked to wear in or whatever, the droid tank armor that they had. But they reminded me a lot of Enfys Nest gang.
Exactly.
I was like, what is Enfys Nest doing here? Oh, maybe Enfys Nest is appropriating indigenous Tatooine culture.
We do see this new faction of Tusken Raiders, and they're like the goth faction of Tusken Raiders, and they don't care about the patriarchy or anything like that, unlike the older ones. So what do you guys think about that? Do you think they spent too much time with them? Because me personally, I think when they had that shot where the Tusken Raiders rolled up on Boba Fett's decrepit body, I feel like that's all I needed to know.
We didn't need a Mad Max scene. We've seen in every Mad Max movie where he gets dragged along by a bantha for a very long time and it just falls, and it's like, well, yeah, the bantha can drag him.
Okay, I'm gonna be that person that's gonna fight against both of you now. I actually like this. I liked all the flashbacks. I liked the way they told it. That's why this got that 9 out of whatever scale I did. Because I like the fact that a lot of this was, if this entire first episode was flashbacks and I had like no dialogue, it would have been a 10 out of 10. Like any real dialogue, I would have been 10 out of 10, because I'm like, I like the show not tell. Because we could have had him just telling Finnick about what happened to him, or telling a group of, crime lords like why he should take Jabba's place because, I had to, but all these flashbacks, all this stuff, I feel is telling a better story through this. And I thoroughly enjoyed that. Also, I like the fact that we're seeing a different version of Tusken Raiders. These are more mobile Tusken Raiders. They live in tents as opposed to huts, which maybe a lunatic Jedi maybe convinced them to be more nomadic now. I don't know.
It
There
seems
may be
almost
a link there.
camouflage. They look like weird sand peaks or something, like pyramids or something. Like it looked like almost camouflage little huts that they lived in. Like if you just saw that as a dune, it's what it looked like. Well, that was very interesting. I did like that. It's like doing the off-world Jawas, which all he did was give them emo capes, but they I think they made this faction look cool, and they definitely have weird traditions in their culture, having the kids just beat on Rhodians. Oh, shut up. We got a Rhodian sighting, big time Rhodian character.
They're trying to play both sides here, right? Like this, they're being very explicit that this is a different, unique faction of Tusken Raiders because, as you pointed out, the tents are very different than the sort of who knows what those structures are made of in Attack of the Clones, but they're crusty, they're disgusting.
Skin of their enemies.
Yeah, maybe who knows what they're made of. Let's not speculate. But they're pointing out that these are very
hay or something. Like, where do you get all this from?
They're pointing out that
Me Skywalkers.
they're being clear that it's a different faction, which is almost an excuse not to show Lucas's design of the female Tusken Raider, which I appreciate. They're making an effort rather than implying that it never existed. They're saying, here's a reason why you're not seeing it, which I'll accept it. I'll accept that as a sort of token of friendship from these guys who just know they're not allowed to show the female Tusken Raider from episode 2 anymore.
Well, I think that's because that tribe was killed, and not just the men, but the women and the children were also killed. And so I think maybe Disney can pull it off and say, well, that was just one tribe and they're all dead.
Yeah, and they were slaughtered like animals.
Completely
I hate them.
completely successfully defeated. Yeah, you got it. so when you got that in mind, and then you see that they're a very different culture, and what did you guys think about the fact that they sent Boba Fett alone with this kid out into the wilderness?
Rite of passage for the child. Not the child, but a child. There we go.
Gotcha.
Wanted to clarify because apparently that is a character.
And then, this Rhodian, you guys are right, this Rhodian is fantastic. And
deserved everything it got.
Yeah, I like how they put a little bit of extra effort in to do like a nice lip sync animation while the Rhodian's talking. Like it's more than we ever got with Greedo. He's talking. It does grind my gears slightly that in Disney era Star Wars, Rhodians are all orange, probably because they only made one mask, but that's fine. I'll forgive that. I think they gave him a little more screen time this time, and you can actually sort of see him.
So you're saying this might be the same mask from the Rhodian from Solo?
I think it's the same. Well, it's in Mando season 1 as well. In the cantina with Grief Karga, when they're sort of talking bounties, there's an orange Rhodian there. And it's like, we haven't seen a green Rhodian in Disney Star Wars, but we've only seen this orange one. I feel like it must be because there's only one mask.
I like my Rhodians like I like my Jedi lightsabers. They're gonna be blue, sometimes green, and that's fine.
All right, I'm moving on from this conversation before we get Twitter canceled. So the other thing I really liked about him being dragged and taken like that is that's very much a Western and very much a Western theme, which of course a lot of Westerns stole from Japanese movies with samurais and stuff like that. So once again, Star Wars steals from Westerns and from that where it's the person being dragged along, which, as Russ had pointed out, is also stolen by Mad
Max does it quite a bit. I think every movie he's dragged somewhere. He's got his giant thing on his head.
And wasn't it great that eventually he's walking for a bit, but then you sort of think about the fact that like it's probably been a week since he's ate anything, and he eventually just is like,
or a month.
He's just like, just drag me. Like I'm fine. I'll just slide along behind these banthas without walking.
You probably could have done it sitting down. If you're on the sand and there's a chain dragging, you could probably just sit and kind of just pull your legs up a little bit and just kind of scoot on your butt around with that bantha pulling you.
So you want to do sand skiing?
Yeah, sand surf. Yeah.
All right.
Sand boogie boarding, sure.
Got it. Get him a kneeboard out there.
Oh, Boba Fett kneeboarding out in the deserts of Tatooine. Ooh, baby.
I think this is an appropriate time to point out the fact, like we're approaching the 1/3 mark of the Book of Boba Fett's first episode, and I need to point out that like I watched it with my girlfriend, which was a mistake.
Who's this? What's going on here?
But so check this out though. This is the fascinating fact about that. As a layman, which she is, she recognized Camino in a flashback, but did not recognize Jabba's palace, but she recognized Camino.
Is that a video game thing? Maybe a Battlefront, because I know that's a pretty major thing.
I can't rationalize it no matter how hard I try. It doesn't.
The Clone Wars a lot too. Bad Batch had it a bunch. I don't know how much you were watching.
I think every establishing shot was Camino
from episode 2. Yeah, was that original Camino footage, or is that just from episode 2?
I honestly meant to check if that was the exact shot from episode 2, or if they recreated it. I'm leaning, like, without checking, I don't know if either of you guys did, I'm leaning towards they recreated it because, as we all know, episode 2 only exists in 1080p, not 4K. But there's also the fact that they didn't do a close-up showing young Daniel Logan's face. So I don't know if they recreated it or not.
It's at a different angle than the original shot was. It's at a higher angle.
But would they have avoided... Like in episode 2, does it only show the wide shot where he sort of picks it up? Because the close-up of Jango Fett's helmet, I can't remember. I meant to check before this recording, but I didn't.
It seemed different. It did seem like it was centered differently. Like I don't know. You're right. There was something a little bit off about it.
They could have. I mean, they shoot tons of stuff, so who knows? Maybe they had just some spare stuff sitting around.
Well, they did want to cut a check to Daniel Logan.
Can you imagine that though? It's amazing to think about the fact that, that episode 2 was so pioneering that 4K didn't exist at the time, that they decided to film it digitally. I meant to check. I'm agnostic about it at the moment. I'm going to go with that they reshot it because they avoided young Daniel Logan's face.
Yeah, it would probably be easy to do. Think about all the Bad Batch Camino like shots they already have animated, like fully digitally animated. It would take much to make it look a little more realistic. Put a couple layers. Like, yeah, we got a ton of Camino. There was like every episode was on Camino. We got tons of Camino stuff. That's easy for us.
I'm going with it's not a reshoot. It's from the original, just at a different camera angle or one of the takes they didn't use.
I'm thinking it's a reshoot because you could see the guy's face in the helmet.
It was distorted. I did notice that, but it's distorted. I'm still agnostic. So, that's cool. Like, I want to believe that they just used Attack of the Clones footage. I would appreciate that. So moving forward from there, this is another thing that sort of interested me canonically. Obviously, the story of this first episode didn't move me to the point where I'm not talking about nerd details that bothered me. So on further nerd details that bothered me. There's continual references to the fact that the city they show is Mos Espa. Like, do we all agree on that?
It's Mos Espa. Welcome to Mos Espa. You're in Mos Espa.
We would like for you to stay in Mos Espa forever.
So when
I'm the mayor's person from Mos Espa.
Why is there a mayor? Hold on. Is this our first use of the word mayor in Star Wars? That sounds like something from Spaceballs. Like, I am the mayor of space.
That word has been used before in Legends, but I'm not sure if it's been used before in canon. You guys heard Mos Espa at least 3 times, right? So
also it comes up on a title card too.
It's not Rogue One. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
No. See, you had to stop. You had to stop for a second and think. I succeeded.
Okay.
He did Rogue One.
You did. But Mos Espa is not inside a giant canyon or crater in episode 1.
But you saw more of the city going outwards. Mos Espa could be giant. It's a spaceport. It could be huge for all we know.
And I respect the fact that it's been like canonically something like 30 years since we've seen it. But that doesn't create a gigantic crater. So is it like why do they do this to us, like can it just be a new city? I would accept that there's a new city on Tatooine that's bigger than Mos Espa. Why have they got to make me wonder why Mos Espa looks like that?
Because we can see old Watto soon. He's gonna come. And I want to say this, since we're bringing up like Mos Espa and Tatooine,
it has to be Mos Espa. It has to be. Sorry, I know why.
So there's a scene early on in this where Boba Fett, he comes out of the he comes out of the flashback, the cutscene's over, and like Iron Man style, he's got robot taxi drivers putting his clothes on. Do you guys notice those are like, aren't those the taxi droids that take Padme and Anakin around with like,
I thought they were the repair droid.
No, but they're on that
like
one
a bigger
wheel.
version of the repair. Oh,
The rickshaw droids, yeah.
Yeah, they look like the rickshaw droids. I was like, why is he getting Iron Man by rickshaw droids? That was strange, but I guess they have to make him look very BA, right?
Yes.
It's definitely cooler than if he were putting his armor on like a peasant and by himself.
Also, him putting the armor on is once again a reference to Japanese samurai movies. So
it is like getting prepared. Like he's got his little servants that are getting him dressed. Yep. Why they don't have a protocol droid, but he will have a torture droid, and they're against torture. But I guess it's all inherited from Jabba.
Yeah,
I like that 8D8 is now a character. Like this is the thing that was torturing a gonk droid for no reason. It's like a throwaway, the worst toy ever kind of thing. 8D8, he's still around, but now he's talking. He won't shut up, and he's like, he's got views
being
about
snarky, wanting to torture.
I like it because they showed in Mandalorian season 2 that EV-99 migrated to the cantina and is now the current bartender over there.
So I'm saying here's the reason this has to be Mos Espa, and we're just seeing a different end of where it's at.
Anakin lived in the ghetto, probably.
Yeah. Yes, but because who presides over the pod races?
Well, the Daimyos.
Jabba did. So why would it make sense for him not for the biggest city to have the pod race and stuff? Hey, I am episode 1ing logic this. We have to have it be Mos Espa. You can't establish another city that would have been more popular that Jabba would have had bigger control.
I know,
over, so.
I know, but you see, in episode 1 when Qui-Gon's first rolling up to Mos Espa, you do get like a really far away wide view of it, and like.
Oh, I will check this right now. I will look at it, and if there is so much as a hole, there's a hole in your logic too. Then.
You get about as good of a faraway view of it as you do
Mos Eisley.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll never find a more wretched hive. Yes,
it's basically a smudge of paint on the screen. So, I suppose there could be a crater over there, but it was, it's just like, why? Like, why does it need to be in a crater? All right, I accept it.
It makes it unique and also cuts out the background.
Yeah, that's fair. So Zenger's currently checking episode 1 to see if there's any establishing shots of Mos Espa. What did you guys think about the fact that they sort of upgraded the Trandoshans in current canon to be sort of partially CGI creatures? Because personally, I was they
look great.
They look better than they did in Mandalorian season 1. I feel like they tried to sort of have a human's eyeballs as the core eyes of a Trandoshan in Mandalorian season 1 when Mando is attacked in the second episode. And I think those guys looked crazy to me. And I think they look a lot better and a lot closer to Bosk in this first episode of the Book of Boba Fett. What do you guys think?
I loved it.
Yeah, I thought it looked really cool. I do like that what's like an animation style. We can finally see him talking on screen. I don't think one ever spoke in Mandalorian. And that's cool. That does open it up for a potential Bosk to come into and not look, super terrible.
Joe, do you have any hard-hitting opinions about Bosk and the current incarnation of CGI Trandoshans?
They talk a lot better than Bosk. You can actually understand what they're saying. But it could be because of the status.
Bosk said something in probably Huttese to that Imperial officer who was rudely looking at him, but there wasn't much of a lip sync there. so I agree, and I think the two Trandoshans at the start of the second episode of Mandalorian were horrifying, and they should never have tried to do them with the human actor's actual eyes, because they don't look the right direction because they're not lizard people, they're humans. So I'm glad they learned from that mistake and they CGI'd it as they probably should have done in the first place, personally.
Yeah, I agree. I dig them. Like I said, I think I just want to see some Bosk too. I really am pushing that they will enter one of the canonical, real cool bounty hunters in this, and not Dengar. I don't know if I want to see him again. So we saw him in Force Awakens. He looked weird.
All right. So my scrubbing so far has turned up that there are a few establishing shots of a skyline of Mos Espa in Phantom Menace.
The best movie of all time. Continue.
Yeah, sure. That there's establishing skylines. They're obviously on the outskirts of Mos Espa when they meet up with Anakin and whatnot.
Right, because they landed in the outskirts to not draw attention because the spaceport was going to be very unpleasant.
So this could be more of the actual inner, like the
Downtown.
because I mean, casino stuff like that are going to be more in a downtown area or a more established area.
Protects you from sandstorms, etc.
Yeah, see, there you go. So this is canonically, I dare an individual to disprove me on that. Hold on, wait. I might have another establishing shot with Maul coming in. So give me a second to look at this.
But I
You
gotta
guys can
say,
talk in the meantime.
there's parts of Mos Espa though, so we got to see a cantina, and that's not Droopy McCool that's there. It's just another of his race, right?
He was on the sail barge, and like this dude, Droopy McCool, definitely.
Max Rebo.
Right.
Max,
Exactly. Droopy's the puffy marshmallow guy.
He's the flute guy. Sorry.
No one likes him. Yeah. So this Max Rebo definitely looks worse than the original Max Rebo. So like, first of all, it's like the Gamorreans. Like, you guys have more money, figure it out. Like, please figure it out, because like these guys don't look right.
Okay, you brought up Gamorreans. I gotta see, someone has some weird Gamorrean fetish that is like works for Disney and has a lot of say, because they're always like way more half naked than they need to be. They have weird
keep on
bodies
getting
now.
More naked.
They do, and they talk about hosing them down. Like, hey, you want me to go hose your Gamorrean down and maybe feed him? What are we talking about? I don't want anything. Just can you put a shirt on him and then give him a bigger axe or something?
They did make him a little bit primitive. Like, you know, when I think of Gamorreans, maybe this dates me, but I always think back to that 1996 Ralph McQuarrie book where there's this great McQuarrie painting of a female Gamorrean with her kid like on Tatooine sort of grabbing some stuff from a market, and it's like, you know, you realize that they're just sort of like any other alien race, and they have a formalized culture and language, but this show sort of made Gamorreans feel like more primitive than I even thought. Like, you know, like they're very basic in a way. They make jokes about hosing them off like in Planet of the Apes or something,
Feeding them.
yeah.
I am looking up this female Gamorrean. Oh, great. Awesome. I've been flagged.
She's got like braids, right? Or something. Can you find it?
I've been flagged on several sites now. Thank you.
Well, I'm trying to remember the name of the book.
So it's like them in a hallway and she's wearing like a yellow dress thing.
Yeah.
This looks awful. I am offended. I have to look at this now.
Original concept artist of the entire Star Wars trilogy, everyone. But
well, no, I mean that's fine. I'm down with that. But just seeing this, it totally destroys my image of these
He's
characters.
a genius. Look at this great Gamorrean chick he did.
Well, no, I'd rather see her like in warrior armor. Why does she have to be in a dress and looking like she can't be a warrior?
I'm just saying, 90s Ralph McQuarrie convinced me that they were just regular people like anybody else. So hearing about them being hosed off,
canonically, they are not normal people. They are just property that is just traded to anybody that wants it. They're just pig monsters that will fight for you, and rankers will eat them
Constantly.
They said they ran away once Boba Fett took over, but they were incredibly ready to sign on to be his bodyguards.
Apparently, there is a Gamorrean Jedi.
Of course. One of these is going to be the chosen one.
Dark Forces rebel agent.
Everyone's favorite, sure. Everyone's favorite book, game, PC?
Sure.
Mobile
It says
nonsense?
game, an audio drama adaptation.
Dark Forces is, of course, as everyone listening to this knows, the 1995 first-person shooter created by LucasArts. So I've never heard of a Dark Forces rebel agent, but maybe that's a accompanying graphic novel of some kind. So let's try and slightly move on forward.
Please,
from here.
fast and in any direction.
So, what else did we have happen in this episode? So Boba Fett goes around and tries to sort of claim ownership of these various minor crime syndicates.
Oh, no, you missed an important thing. You missed the big old foreshadowing by the So correct me if I'm wrong. Twi'lek males are supposed to have a gigantic forehead.
Of course, we see Bib Fortuna in Return of the Jedi
Giant
with this
forehead.
giant, weird, disgusting forehead, and we see Orn Frita, the senator in the prequels, who's also equally revolting in every way, shape, and form. So it's just strange to see male Twi'leks who don't have this thing going on.
I think we saw that once first in Mando with that guy who was part of the space wrecking crew team.
I thought no, he had one.
He did.
He had a forehead. Could they be because can't Twi'leks and humanoids like
Rebels has shown that, yes.
So could it be that they are not pure?
A hybrid? Yeah, I guess that could be the
maybe
case.
that, you know what? I'm giving that the reason. But anyways, the mayor's aide person, whatever he is, gives that, oh, well, the next, because he says this, and I didn't catch this at the 3 a.m. viewing because I was sitting there like, Boba Fett.
Can I pause and say that, like, I respect the hell out of the fact that you watched at 3 a.m.
Because I wasn't, I was not going to go and have this spoiled. I am in the Star Wars group. I exist on the internet. If there's any big reveal at the end of this, it will be spoiled for me by 8 a.m. I am going to lock myself in to make sure I do not. I did this with the Ahsoka episode. I knew it was coming out. I'm watching it. I'm not having no one spoil this. I'm doing it on my terms.
Absolutely right. And I just went for the route of avoiding the internet for like 2 or 3 hours.
That's impossible.
For
inhuman ability right there, people.
But the thing was, there was really nothing to this didn't give us the Mando episode 1 drop of like a baby Yoda or even a big villain or what was the big reveal in this that like there's like Mortal Kombat monsters that live in the sand?
Oh yeah, there was that. If you put the pieces together, those assassins were sent by the mayor because that was the next envoy that was coming to see him. See, I've already put that together.
I think the implication was that those guys were going to show up at Jabba's palace.
I'm saying they're mayor. I'm saying they were sent by the mayor. Calling it now. Write it down.
Also,
Zinger's right again.
There's also a weird mystery that we're supposed to care about like a swoop bike gang that has spray paint.
Oh no, that's the same gang that Dreamy McDream Pants Carl Vamp fights with. And
oh, okay.
I think they're supposed to be the same.
That was flashback scenes.
I don't know if they're the same unit of people, but they're definitely within the same realm of the Red Raiders, I think, or something.
Right, that take over that town and that the Boba Fett suit.
I could be wrong on that. Could be wrong, but I am correct on Carl Vamp is Dreamy. Moving on to other dreamy people, he goes to the. I'm actually on the scene in the show right now as I'm playing it in the background. The casino. Go ahead, pick up, Chris.
There's a male Twi'lek slave and a female Twi'lek slave walking up to Boba Fett and Fennec Shand, offering to clean their helmets. I think that's the move. And
they clean them all right.
Yeah, that's the move. Fennec Shand is not into that.
Well, hold on, his was shinier than hers, though.
Oh, very much so.
I think that she just takes better care of hers in the first place, so she didn't require such attention. Fett encourages her to take part in the local customs so that they don't feel as agitated.
I'm realizing now the reason she said yours is shinier is because his was filled with all that money that they gave him, which he drops later. That's why his helmet was shinier, correct? Is that what we learned?
Yes.
I'm just putting this together, and I'm feeling like a genius for making up for that. That plants have those little rocks full of water buried in Tatooine. So I'm pulling it together.
And I'm so glad that since Disney bought Star Wars, that the Empire, the First Order, and the criminal underworld have all learned the pitfalls of not treating both genders equally.
Oh, also, there's the whole thing pointed out of him not coming in, being carried in, and all this stuff too.
So what?
Did they just hand Jabba a helmet full of money every week? Like, how does this work? Could they just get a bag system going? He needs that helmet.
They haven't figured out Interact, e-transfer, or PayPal for sure. But so that is interesting how they handed him literally a bucket full of gold, essentially.
New Republic gold, by the way. New Republic gold, because you do see some of the coins have the New Republic symbol on them.
So it would make sense in this time because that's what they were using. They were starting to get marshals and stuff showing up on Tatooine and whatnot.
Yeah, I guess if it's been 5 years since Return of the Jedi, but Zenger, I don't believe for a minute that you noticed that detail without watching some sort of YouTube video analysis.
I watched it and saw. I was like, oh hey, it's the New Republic symbol.
That's a remarkable adoption time for a new currency. That's really impressive.
But I will admit that one of the videos I did see breaking down stuff also mentioned it. So if I didn't catch it, I would have known it anyways.
He caught it. It's fine. What else did you catch?
I did
haven't
not
watched
catch
any
it
of
on my
those.
first watching, though. I will give you that. It was not the 3 a.m. watch. I caught that on.
Another production detail that I heard about prior to seeing the episode was the fact that these hired goons who attack Boba Fett,
Hired by the mayor.
In the streets of Mos Espa, perhaps hired by the mayor, we're yet to find out.
Allegedly.
You know, I heard that their sort of costume design reflected COVID precautions, and you know, I couldn't unsee that once I heard it.
Yeah, I was thinking they looked like Sub-Zero. I thought those guys looked like Mortal Kombat guys. And then when you had a giant Goru jump out of the sand layer, I was like, what is all this Mortal Kombat stuff? I didn't know Robert
I feel like
Rodriguez.
there's another Mortal Kombat thing we missed, too. Give me a second.
The fire. He did the fire move in Sarlacc's stomach, a scorpion
go.
style. Did you guys like those guys? Those parkour enemies who were flipping around poles and jumping over cleverly placed, you know, like video game level little platforms that were like steps, like a Mario level?
What I did like about them is that, much like the fact that extreme parkour will once in a while cost an excited person their life by falling off of a building in the middle of downtown somewhere in Russia. Like this guy got hit by a rocket directly while he was climbing a building, and it did make me slightly happy.
Okay, a few things to unpack there. One, you didn't have to say it was Russia. It's assumed. Two, I like that the Gamorrean guards actually are functionally do something and help out. So that's cool. Because we normally see them do nothing but get force choked and get eaten by rancors. So cool on them. But if you jump to 23 minutes, 53 seconds into the episode, you will be seeing two of the assassins parkouring themselves, and one jumps against the wall to do a spin move for no apparent goddamn reason.
The fight scene was a little strange. I mean, I know Fennec had to go take it alive, but that whole fight with them with the shields, it's like, hey, you Star Wars fans, we ever wondering the limits of these weird orange shields? Well, we're going to try to run on them. We're going to shoot a rocket at one. We're going to throw a guy into one. It's like every possibility you could think of that could happen with that shield, we got to see in that very quick scene. Like a lot happened. When they threw the one guy on, it was pretty funny because he was like, oh, God, it kind of burns. Like, it's a little, oh, it stings. Like, it didn't hurt him. It didn't kill him.
Whatever their weapons were, they were sort of non-threatening in a way where it's like you just touch a guy with them and they get tasered. Like no actual.
No, it doesn't
kinetic
burn
violence.
you or kill you or anything. It's like, oh,
Like-
come on, get that thing away.
Like they're basically shaped like axes, but no kinetic violence occurs in any way, shape, or form. They basically get tasered when it makes contact.
Ooh, they got face tattoos too.
That whole fight, yeah, I guess it was kind of interesting. I did like that, like, you know, it's like, yeah, shut up, Fennec. What do you know? These Gamorreans are cool. I told you they were cool. They end up saving us. And yeah, and it just took that one Gamorrean hitting that one guy, and the whole fight turned into complete chaos. And they had it completely blocked off. They're like completely surrounded. Like, this is over. And they did just that was a very inept team of tattooed, masked, shield wielding
Assassins.
thugs.
Mayor hired assassins.
Sub-Zeros.
Yes.
All right, so Joe, we haven't heard from you in a second.
Are you alive?
We're very rude and loud. What's your opinion of that fight scene with the ninjas?
It was very Cirque du Soleil. You know, it was very, very nice to watch the nice aerial acrobatics that they have going on there.
Parkour.
Much like the Tusken Raiders, it went on for a little bit too long. It seems like that was the only thing to catalyze him going back into the back of the tank to have another flashback. Because it seems like to me that they're setting this thing up like The Sopranos. Next thing you know, he's going to be sitting in a shrink's office.
Did you have any thoughts you didn't manage to get out about this sort of new faction of Tusken Raiders?
About to see a lot more of them.
You know, different areas of the planet, you're going to have different areas of Tusken Raiders. It's you know, you go any place in the world, it's the same thing.
That's fair, as they don't have cell phones, so that's fair.
and they can only so far.
Or
And
sign language,
that's true.
which once again travels at the speed of light, because how fast does it take you to see something?
So it's, it was very interesting to see that, but the emo Tusken Raiders were a nice little touch. But you're going to see probably that's gonna play more into the show when you see it go on, because it looks like he bonded with the boy by saving him.
Obviously, the flashbacks haven't sort of completed the storyline with the Tusken Raiders, so I'm sure we'll see a little more of that, and we'll see maybe a little bit of insight into why he sort of attacks the way he does in Mandalorian season 2. Well, maybe we'll see him training with the gaffy stick and all that.
You think that's what the flashbacks are going to be? More that I think the flashbacks are going to be things like how he got Slave 1 back. Maybe they go further back. I don't know. Is this like the point that they're going to go from? Because like you mentioned, he said that you're going to see all the stuff you ever wanted to see of Boba Fett. So I tend to want to see more pre-Sarlacc Boba stuff. Like I kind of figured his ship was just somewhere.
I mean,
It's a long-term storage place.
It's just parked out behind.
They can
Jabba's
have
palace.
the Ripley looking lady who was watching it this whole time, and she charges him an arm and a leg. We get to see her again.
You got to pay interest on those unpaid storage fees for the Slave One. But I feel like in one of the trailers it shows the Slave One inside Jabba's palace, and I you know what, it definitely does, because it's an.
You mean Boba Fett's starship? Can we change? Hold on. Can we change it to the back to one now? Like if you put it back to there, back to one would be cool, because he's gonna need that, and that brings it. That's a great. Let's do that.
The ceiling clearance on that parking garage for Slave One is appalling. Like, the fact that you could even fly that thing in there is really ridiculous. Like there's maybe 2 or 3 feet of clearance.
Maybe a tractor beam, some kind of thing holds it in.
I do want to point out that thanks to this episode, it does establish that there's a space New Zealand and a space Australia.
Because he says mate.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. Russ got it.
Moment. That was the best moment. I was like, that is all Tamora Morrison to be like, oh, are you mad, mate? And he's talking to and he said dog. I don't think dog has ever been said in Star Wars either. So mate and dog, 2 great expressions. Chris, my mate. Joe, my dog. Zenger.
Lord.
My Daomo or whatever. Damio.
Perfect.
Mate definitely stood out to me.
That was beautiful.
That's
something I would have said is like, hey, this is Mando Russ, mate. It's like, that's what it this is. Mando Boba Fett, mate. Me and my dog here.
When does he say dog?
Because he calls it a dog. He said, no hard feelings, huh? He says something about he calls the Tusken thing a dog at one point. He says dog.
I'm scrubbing for this real quick. I don't doubt you. I want to see it.
It just stood out. I'm like, oh, it's like saying duck in Star Wars. Like, oh, ducks are a thing too now? Okay.
Space ducks.
Yeah, Captain Panaka acknowledges ducks in episode 1. Fact. We're setting ducks out there.
There's a uncut line from A New Hope where he's like, Obi-Wan says to Luke, you'll take to the Force like a duck does to water. And Luke says, what's a duck? That was in one of the original scripts of Star Wars.
It's probably in the novel somewhere.
What's a duck?
Space duck.
Why'd they cut that out? No, okay, sorry.
How amazing is it that they actually got around to referencing ducks and it made it to the theatrical cut of episode 1? But never mind that. So while Zenger's scrubbing through there, so we're like getting sort of closer to the finale of this episode. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we saw that really impressed me. Like, I'm not gonna lie, in that first 10 minutes, it was really exhilarating seeing that we're seeing moments after Boba Fett's fall into the Sarlacc pit in Return of the Jedi.
And after that stormtrooper, who I was always very concerned, is that guy gonna get out? Man, is he gonna get a book?
Oh, he's been dead for a long time.
His life support's gone too. Yeah, I guess you're right. He murdered that stormtrooper.
Yeah, it's armor. They're okay. It's okay to show. Like, he's been there for a month. He looks about the same because it's white plastic. Moving on from that, so we're sort of seeing Boba Fett establish his dominance in this Tatooine underworld, which when you sort of get Rick Olay's take on Tatooine in episode 1, it seems like it's not a big deal. Like, no one really cares about it. The Hutts rule it, sure, but it doesn't seem like it's an important place. So we're sort of seeing him sort of establish dominance on this planet.
But what's his power?
He calls
what's his
he
power?
says watchdog.
Yeah. He says watchdog.
Okay.
But what is his actual? He walked in and shot Bib Fortuna. Okay. They haven't shown what his actual forces are. Like, what was Jabba's forces? We knew he had guys, but where are they? They just like, if I sit in this chair, now I can just go around and they'll give me helmets full of money wherever I go. Like, why? What do you have behind you? Where is Jabba's like forces? Like, who is running all this? Him and Fennec and 2 pigmen? That's your gangsters?
You know, when we see this Twi'lek talk to him in this first episode, she's sort of surprised that he's even claiming ownership over this territory. So I think maybe that sort of leadership is going to be tested. But, you know, it makes you wonder, did they assume the audience has even watched the films? You know, you wonder, like, sort of how much credit are they giving the audience when they sort of say Boba Fett is the new crime lord on Tatooine?
And it was like, cool. Yeah, him and this lady and these 2 pigmen. They're taking the whole planet by storm. All these things. I do want to see, like, what is he going to do? Is he going to, like, if he has these major enforcers, like, who are they right now? Or are they going to be, is he going to Dengar? You must roll anchorhead, mate.
Zenger, is Rothgar Dang actually Dengar?
Sure. Sorry, I'm still impressed with the final part of this episode too, which I know we'll get to eventually.
We can get to it. We're pretty much there, right? That
Okay.
the fact that it's part of the flashback is the big ending, right?
I'm impressed with the design of this creature. Like, it's something unique-ish. Definitely unique to Star Wars, but unique-ish in the world of sci-fi. It's very John Carpenter.
I would not call it unique. I would call it very heavily derivative of Ray Harryhausen's 60s work.
Okay, yeah, that too. But were you expecting it? Were you expecting it when it popped out of the sand?
No.
What I was expecting was the mid-90s version of a crate dragon.
Oh, it looks like a dragon.
Yeah. It's about the size of a blue whale, and you know, it looks basically like an iguana. And it's gonna mess up somebody's day.
If that thing's swimming around the sand, yeah, Boba Fett can definitely punch through it too. If they got all these things that just live in the sand, maybe just the sand makeup is just so weak on the planet. I don't know. If
you've ever yourself, or if you're one of your kids, have had a fascination with having exotic pets, you realize that reptiles are one of those things where they basically charge up in sunlight for like 24 hours, and then they do like 5 minutes of extreme activity. Where this could seem like one of those things to me. Like, you know, he's hanging out under the sand, he's baking, he's getting his energy up, and then he just, you know, he's ready for that one fight of the month.
I thought it was a cool design. I thought the centaur thing was a cool design. I liked it. It was something I wasn't expecting. It was cool to see. The fight was interesting because it like went to where it could use both of its arms, Goro style, or it went all centaur mode to where it walked on its four leg arm things. It was cool. I liked it. It was something I was not expecting, and it's the whole rite of passage for that kid sort of thing. And it showed that, you know, that he came back to that village not in chains. Like, he was carrying the chain, but he was coming back as seen as almost an equal, if that makes any sense. So that's, once again, show not tell. There was no him having to be like, so Finnick, then I helped kill this creature. It's a sand centaur.
Man.
Sandman. And I helped kill it. So that's how they helped accept me into their culture. It's like, no, I like that the flashbacks are not someone explaining it. I like that it's you have to pay attention. You have to understand this is what's happening. This is what's establishing. So I like that. I like the show not tell.
It would have been funny for Boba to said, "Oh, this Rhodian, he didn't make it, mate." Oh,
Looks like it was an afterthought, by the way, that it was generated. You know, it looks like a very true to form storyboard of what the creature would look like. It's like here's over the weekend, hey, just make us a creature with six limbs.
Can he look like a genie? Sure, he can look like a genie. We could do that.
Well, you know, you'd be missing the very chameleon-like eyes that the creature had, where they sort of were covered with scaly skin around most of the sphere, but they sort of pointed around in various directions. Very chameleon-like, and also it's sort of derivative of the Princess of Mars, where you have these Martian aliens who are green and have forearms and all that.
John Carpenter. Wait,
yeah.
is that John Carpenter?
John Carter. But,
Carter.
Very close, yeah.
John Carpenter's The Thing.
John Carpenter's exactly. He's the
John
fantastic.
Carter's The Mars.
The director who directed Escape from New York, Escape from LA, The Thing, and Big Trouble in Little China, which are all fantastic. And you should all watch them.
Halloween.
There's that too.
The Thing's a origin story for Santa Claus. Think about it.
I've just been killed. So I'm glad we sort of touched on all that. We got the John Carpenter creature at the end, which is like very much evocative of Ray Harryhausen's stop motion animation. And so he's a centaur who fights Boba Fett, and it's a good time. He proves himself to the Tusken Raiders, and they
kind of episode 2 he gonna fight with a chain, something like Anakin and Obi-Wan kind of had to mess with their chains around them and fighting monsters. So many episode 2 references. It is Robert Rodriguez. Must love Attack of the Clones.
Exactly, and they bring back the head.
Or Star Wars.
And you love to see a child parading the decapitated head of some monster around the town.
Always.
To sort of establish the fact that Boba Fett clearly is a warrior and not to be messed with. So, sort of wrapping this thing up.
This book has just begun. There's about 7 more greatness episodes, or 6 more, and you're excited, aren't you, Chris?
I'm excited for the hope. Like, personally, I have the hope that this is nothing to do with the remaining 6 episodes, and this is just establishing the fact that Boba Fett is, in fact, still alive after Return of the Jedi. That is my hope.
My hope too. My hope is that there's something bigger. I do want to see. I think this will play into whatever's going on actual Mandalore and all of them, Bo-Katan and all of them going over there doing whatever they're supposed to be doing. I do think we will see our buddy the Mando at some point in this again. I think whatever. I don't know. I hope it gets off planet a little bit. This is the Star Wars, not the Atmosphere Wars that Zenger is definitely pushing for, but. I do want to see it get a little bigger scale. Maybe even bring in the Queen of Dragons or whatever, or Darth Maul. I think, well, you can't bring her, but you know what I mean. I think the crime syndicate thing is cool, but there needs to be a bigger story going on.
Zenger, what do you think for the remaining 6 episodes?
As I said before, I'm on board. I am on board for whatever happens right now. I was left impressed with this episode. Definitely standing by my 9 out of 10. I love the show don't tell method of this episode. Like I said, if there was no dialogue and it was all flashbacks, it would have been great. The stuff we had, it's establishing what's going on. He's not as invincible as we all think he is. He has that whole hurdle to overcome. Yeah, they're probably making it cheaper to do the episodes so they don't have to put a ton of makeup on him for the scars and everything. Smart move there, directors. Yeah, I saw what you did there. And finally, I'm just on board. I have no expectations for this. So I have everything that this, I am the blankest slate right now for this to prove whatever it wants to me, because I'm on board. I'm thumbs up in it right now. And we'll see how we can do through the rest of this. Zach, I know you're listening to this, and I'm thumbs up in this all the way. So
Zach, I'll speak for Zach. Zach said, I just got a text. He said, I just hopped on the back to 1. I'm all on board. I'm ready to zoom this frozen corpse of a show to my favorite daimyo. How about you, Joe? What you got, Joe?
I think it's going to definitely tie into season 3 of Mandalorian. And I think you're going to see Bo-Katan show up. I'm thinking that it's also going to reference some of the Bad Batch with Omega. That's the other thing too. Omega. So I think that's something to watch out for, because the last time Fennec Shan was in any show was the Bad Batch, and she was looking for Omega. So maybe that's why she's with Boba Fett.
we can only hope.
Okay, all right. Oh no, he thinks the batch could show up, the old batch.
I think so. I think those Mandalorians, the ones that saved Din Djarin in the Mandalorian, were actually clone troopers. That's why they never took off their helmets.
Introducing
They all look the same.
Bert Kreischer as Rekka.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Wait a second. So since they're not direct clones of Boba Fett, Is this how he gets Sylvester Stallone into Star Wars?
Yeah, sure. There you go. Yeah. Well, what is he? Old Hunter? He could be old Hunter.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. You're right there with me. How do we cast this? Let's do it now.
Hey, you know that red headband guy?
That's me. Oh, that's me. I'm in this now. I'm in Star Wars now. Oh man, Boba Fett.
I'm thoroughly traumatized by that guy.
And Christopher Walken will be Sniper.
You guys have given me a lot to think about.
Because they would be all old. So
Yeah.
old. And Christopher Walken would be a great. What's the sniper's name, Chris? You know it.
It's escaping me.
4 eyes.
Bullseye.
Bullseye.
Shooter.
Sharp eye.
Sharpshooter. Yes. Yeah. Crosshairs.
Splinter.
Russ got it. Yeah.
It is crosshair.
Yeah, I know.
Remember.
Oh man, who's gonna be okay? So we casted that. Who's gonna be Tech?
Bob Newhart.
He's dead.
I've been watching a lot of Curb Your
Simon
Enthusiasm.
Pegg. He loves being and everything. He'd be the nerd.
No. See, you have Simon Pegg.
Oh, you were gonna say Sheldon. Sheldon is
yes.
Tech. Okay, Sheldon can be Tech.
No, hold on. I got this. Tech is going to be played by, and I've been watching a lot of Curb Your Enthusiasm. So
Larry David.
Larry David.
Old. Well, they are old. So okay, this is a great crew. You've got Bert Kreischer as Wrecker. You've got Larry David as Tech. You have Rambo as Hunter, and you have Christopher Walken as Crosshair. Who's Omega? Who's our Omega, guys? Is it Drew Barrymore?
It is Drew Barrymore. No, wait, hold on. Let's do this.
Who's New Zealand's Drew Barrymore? We'll figure this out.
Who is new? Xena.
Lucy Lawless.
Yeah, well, she will be playing the part of our canceled friend. Isn't she playing the role of I can't even.
Oh crap! Yeah, right. Cara Dune.
Cara Dune, yeah. Lucy Lawless is the new Cara Dune.
They will not recast Cara Dune, and I want to thank you guys so much for your wonderful, colorful commentary on episode 1 of the Book of Boba Fett, because this is getting incredibly offside.
We have to stop because there's 7 more episodes. Zenger, do you have anything you want to say or plug?
I'll plug ZengThis. Check it out every week. We have nerdy topics. I'm sure we're going to talk about Book of Boba Fett. Might say it for episode 1 and 2 because I feel like episode 1. I feel like once we see episode 1's the setup, see 2 where it's going to go. So I want to see. I'm waiting to see where it goes. Maybe we'll do that on ZengThis. Also, tune in every week for this, where we will be recasting the Bad Batch every week with a new cast until we finally get it correct.
Well, we give them from different ages. We'll have the young Bad Batch, the old Bad Batch, and I'll just plug the Unbelievers Podcast. Check it out. We are on break right now for the holidays. Unbelieverspodcast.com on Patreon, and that's it for me. How about you, Joe? You got anything going on you want to say or plug?
Nothing going on to say or plug, but if you watch the Book of Boba Fett, Tamora Morrison will give you a flower.
Thank you.
I don't know what he's referencing, but that's fantastic, and I appreciate it, Joe. And thank you for hanging out tonight. And we're sorry Zack couldn't be here. He's obviously horribly depressed by the narrative structure of the Book of Boba Fett episode 1. So we'll deal with that when we come to it. Thank you very much for hanging out with us tonight, you guys. And you can follow us at KOV Podcast on Instagram, and you can follow me, the Chris Porteous, on Instagram. And thanks very much for listening.
And as always,
remember Alderaan! Down with the Empire!